advantage as we get the game going here.
Yeah, this is going to be very similar to seeing the Arceus decks of old as they make use of their Star Birth, or Summoning Star in this case, and then just try to lock in that path to the peak and avoid their opponent ever being able to use those crucial abilities. And Eder is going to have the slight advantage now, starting off with that Lugia in the active spot and going first, and the Evolution Incense likely going to be searching out that Archeops, which likes to hang out in the discard pile.
Indeed, and with Eder being able to go first and potentially finding that path to the peak, it's on Tord to find the counter. Eder will be able to use Summoning Star first if he's able to find that Lugia V-Star and get those Archeopses into play and follow that up with a path to the peak, making it a little bit harder for Tord to set up. However, Tord does play the searchable Pumpkaboo, which Natalie was not talking great of in the previous round, but we'll see if it comes into play in this matchup.
Well, nothing else necessary on the other side for Eder, just going to use the Incense and pass, and it is over to Tord now, who is going to start off with a similar strategy. Finds the Archeops already in the hand, so Quick Ball is going to put that in the discard pile nice and easy, and I expect to see Lugia at some point, right?
Yeah, definitely. We should be seeing, I mean, Tord would ideally be benching double Lugia here, because even though Eder's start wasn't anything too crazy or too impactful, there's always the risk that they could go Serena or boss up your only Lugia. So Tord will be definitely preparing for that, also looking through his deck to figure out what price cards are there, what price cards does he have to worry about, and therefore execute his game-winning strategy.
Yeah, Tord eyeing up that Dunsparce, which of course can help with the weakness on the Lugia, so maybe Lugia already available in the hand perhaps, or just going to go on a deeper draw with a Professor's Research, but that's going to be impactful. We do see that a Raikou is featured on the deck list for Eder, so maybe could avoid being one hit knocked out by that Pokemon.
Now the risk of your single Lugia, if that's all that Tord ends up benching, the risk of that going down is definitely lower than if you're playing against something like Mew VMAX, right? Lugia doesn't have that crazy draw power that Genesect offers, so if you bench one Lugia, you're saying, okay, I do know that it's a risk, but it's an acceptable risk I'm willing to take, especially off of that underwhelming turn one you had. I will be only benching one so that I can save some bench space right here. So we'll have to see if that's what's on Tord's mind, or if he'll play it extra safe with the double Lugia. Oh, he's already holding the double Lugia. I couldn't see that. Okay, well, that certainly helps. That certainly
Tord
helps.
is built different. Lugia's in hand already, and Dunsparce is being discarded by way of the Aurora energy. So says, go ahead, bring that Raikou my way. I'm not worried. Professor's Research coming down. That's going to be 7 fresh cards for Tord. Also haven't seen the Oranguru used this turn as well, so a little more reach left. And wow, Ultra Ball Archeops, are you kidding me? What a start.
So a lot of the lists that we have seen from Lugia on stream, at least, have not featured Raikou, right? I feel like we've seen more non-Raikou lists than Raikou lists, so perhaps Tord is playing under that assumption that Eder is also not running Raikou. Tord is not running Raikou himself, so that could have been a major role into that thinning play off of the Dunsparce, and it honestly could be costly. If you're Eder and you're seeing that, then you know that Raikou all of a sudden became a really good option, and with an Oranguru already in play, then that means there's a potential 3-price turn for Eder in this game.
Yeah, that's a great point. Seeing these resources discarded early on, and potentially if the Manaphy were to find the discard pile as well, definitely would be a tell toward maybe just using the strategy of, well, you're 8-1-1, I'm 8-1-1. You probably don't play cards like Raikou, right? How did you get here if you have 25 match points? But sure enough, Eder bringing the spice, and it could be very costly in game number 1.
Indeed, just like the differences between 3 or 4 Archeopses, 3 or 4 Lugias, there's many minor differences that can make or break a game. And Eder, even though the Raikou seems less useful overall against Lost Zone decks than the Stoutland, there's definitely merit to Raikou, and it is a lightning type, so it does hit for weakness on the Lugia. So it'll be interesting to see if that comes into play, if Eder even needs it to seal this game. Because if Eder manages to win this game without revealing the Raikou, that could also play into the mind games of Tord not preparing for it again and getting punished for that. So it'll be interesting. There's a lot of mind games going on, and the fact that neither player knows their opponent's deck list exactly and can only make educated guesses definitely plays into the match.
Yeah, that is a fantastic point. The choice belt in combination with the amazing shot would be able to take a huge knockout on a Lugia VSTAR, potentially also removing a card like the Oranguru, stealing an additional prize. That could be a huge swing turn. And if Eder doesn't even need to use that in game number 1, can just use the initiative of going first and potentially having a decent hand here, as we do see the quick ball throwing away the Archeops, then certainly you could expect if Eder does win game number 1 without that card, that maybe could be the difference between going second in game number 2 and starting to come back from being down half a turn.
Now, Eder does have a very interesting choice here. He does have one Arceus in the discard pile. He is holding the Path to a Peak, and he does have that Evolution Incense. Now, with the research, either he's going to go for the double Arceus, and that means he cannot play the Path to a Peak down right here because he would not be able to use Summoning Star himself, or he could have chosen to go for the Lugia, and, oh wait, no, he already has the Lugia V-Star, but no way to discard this Arceus other than the research, so he will not be able to do the Path to the Peak after the Summoning Star, so he'll be hoping to draw another copy off of this research.
Yeah, interested to see if maybe, yeah, it looks like there were 3 copies of Serena, so maybe there was an opportunity there where you just make use of the discarding effect from Serena and get that Archeops into the discard pile and then play down that Path to the Peak, but going to just take an opportunity now with playing the percentages, throws away one of the paths, has 2 more left in the deck, and here comes the Summoning Star. Did we see the path in that 7-card hand? I'm not sure.
I don't think we did. Yeah, and I agree with you. This arena probably would have been a slightly better approach there to be able to do everything that he wanted, right? Oh, we do see the Path to the Peak, in fact. So getting rewarded by that research, and Eder knows he has the advantage right now. He is using Summoning Star first. He will be able to get those 2 Arceus down immediately. Will be benching another Lugia, and he'll have the prize initiative right here.
Yeah, that is perfect. Never punished. Finds the perfect cards off of the 7 there, and Lugia is ready to go with the Tempest dive. Going to even start to charge up the second Lugia on the bench, which could potentially be a liability. We've seen the player who goes second with Lugia sometimes have to go for some of those reach prize cards, as sometimes the first Lugia is difficult to knock out.
Yeah, that preparing that other Lugia could be a tell for Tord that Eder's list is a little less heavy on the single prizers, right? We haven't seen Yveltal down, we haven't seen Radiant Charizard, and Eder is playing Path to a Peak, so Tord must be wondering, like, what exact kind of Lugia list am I really up against right now?
Well, we'll see what Tord's strategy is. Step number 1 is do not play under a path. So we'll see if the hand has anything to help out there. We did see Tord grabbing the Luminion last turn and not playing it. So potentially already had the answer to a path in hand.
Indeed, he also used Oranguru to save a card there, so could have been a path counter, could have been the supporter that he needs this turn. Tord does play 3 Path to a Peak counters, one of which is Pumpkaboo, the other is a copy of Collapse Stadium, and then finally a Lost Vacuum. Any of those would be able to grant him that counter and allow him to Summoning Star to match his opponent's setup right now.
We're going to see a powerful energy coming down, and whoa, maybe this hand isn't very good. Read the Wind, discarding the Archeops. At least that's where you want Archeops, but 3 cards past the turn, past the initiative, and that's a lot of prize cards that Eder's looking at on the other side.
So Path to a Peak doing its job, right? Like, it is being a differential in this mirror match. Eder does have now this advantage because he is choosing to play copies of this card. So immediately being rewarded with a very underwhelming Read the Wind turn. He will be able to get a further 2 prizes ahead, whether he knocks out the active Lugia or chases after the Lugia VSTAR as he was able to get the Serena off his prize cards the previous turn.
Well, not seeing the Luminion on the previous turn makes me think that maybe Tord just didn't have an understanding of the path being in the deck, or at least as heavy of a copy as it was. We only did see the path hit the discard pile on the turn that path was played. Here comes the Serena, and that's going to target down the Lugia V-Star. And this is bad news bears. Powerful energies are going to be able to take the knockout there. Eder down to just 3 prize cards.
We even see the Hyper Potion from the prize card, so he could definitely weather any sort of small damage that Tord does now. But seems like Tord not out of this yet. I know he's very good at time management and very aware of when he needs to concede and when he doesn't need to concede. And therefore, the fact that he's continuing to play means he must have a plan to come back into this match.
Looks like we're going to see potentially another Lugia V-Star here off the Evolution instance. Not much else to search. The Archeops are already in the discard pile. Summoning Star still not available yet because of that path to the peak. Tord looking for a little additional assistance in that hand. I think we saw at least one supporter in a Serena, but there's a lot of cards in that hand. Maybe there's something else though.
Now, if Tord is able to respond to his Lugia with his own Lugia this turn, then that would be a lot of powerful energies gone for Eder, meaning their response on this Lugia would have to be through a different Pokemon, meaning either Raikou, which would reveal the fact that Eder is playing the Raikou, or Radiant Charizard, because Eder is in fact not playing Yveltal in his list.
Yep, that is a great point to mention. Just not going to be seeing that card featuring some different versatility choices. The Crobat is a general feature that we see, but the Crobat V Max is actually going to be featured in Eder's list as well. A general answer to Mew V Max, but occasionally finds its way into some of these exchanges just because of the high hit points.
Exactly. I mean, that Crobat V Max can sometimes make it so that Crobat V is no longer an easy target on the bench. Now, Tord is able to find the Pumpkaboo to take out that path to peak, is finally able to set up the Arceus, but if losing the coin flip meant Tord had a small disadvantage, now losing that extra turn does put Tord on the back foot. However, he will be able to make this, or try to attempt to make this comeback, especially with Eder not having a very clear path to taking his next 2 prize cards on the active Lugia V-Star.
Yeah, Eder does have 3 V Pokemon in play, and that's definitely what Tord's going to be eyeing up in this spot. We see the powerful energies coming down, and they're also going to remove some powerful energies from play, 3 of them on the side for Eder, and that means that the reach for a one-hit knockout on Lugia V-Star may not even be there at this point. You mentioned earlier, the Yveltal is not featured in this list, so how do you find the reach to potentially take this big knockout? It's going to have to be Radiant Charizard in combination with a Choice Belt, and not a lot of prize cards have been taken here yet.
Yeah, the key cards for Eder right now, or the key card rather, is that Choice Belt. The Choice Belt will allow either Charizard to take a knockout on the Lugia, or Raikou to potentially close out the game by taking down that Pumpkaboo. So it all comes down to, can Eder follow this up with the Choice Belt? That is the most important card that Eder has. But on the other hand, if he does end up using the Raikou, even though he will win the match right here, he will also reveal the fact that he has the Raikou.
Well, we don't see that card just yet. A lot of utility cards in the hand here for Eder, and it looks like just the Marnie actually has the Choice Belt, but not the Pokemon to attach it to. And it's so unfortunate when Marnie's the card you have to use. That means you're going to leave that on the bottom of the deck. At least Archeops could give the deck a shuffle, but certainly won't have it this turn.
Indeed. Now, thanks to Raikou, I think that's still Eder's best option right now. He can target down the Pumpkaboo and do 240 damage to this Lugia, and that means Tord will not be able to use the active Lugia, which has all these powerful energies attached, and he would really have to stretch thin to knock out the other Lugia and Luminion, because that means he's also not dealing with the Raikou. So Tord's path to victory is going to get a little bit complicated if Eder decides to use the Raikou. He's not immediately going for it though, so we'll have to see what he has on his mind. He is now playing that Quick Ball. And there's the Raikou at the front of the deck, along with Crobat, so he might be thinking about drawing extra cards.
Yeah, there is a Radiant Charizard in the hand and the Crobat, so maybe thinking about getting risky and go for the Choice Belt draw, but no, that might be a little scary. This could just be a 2-turn setup here at this point.
Yeah, we do see Eder choosing the Raikou. I'm sure we're gonna see that Pumpkaboo chase. So even though the path to a peak got countered, the fact that Pumpkaboo was the counter will end up also being very costly for Tord. So we do see the advantage of Pumpkaboo is the fact that you can easily search for it with either Ultra Wall or Quick Ball, but it's also a liability. And Eder being able to shuffle his deck now means the Choice Belt is no longer at the bottom, and he will be able to draw a clean 6 cards to find that Choice Belt to finish the game right here,
this is
right
the
now.
best of both worlds. Ultra Ball discards the entire hand. Can he find the belt? It's not there.
It is in fact not there. Still plenty of options left, and he has such a big advantage right now that he doesn't necessarily need to win right now. But getting rid of the energies on Lugia to retreat and then losing the Raikou will mean that Eder will be a little stretched for resources.
Just goes ahead and says, here it is, Tord. It's still on the bottom somehow. After all that shuffling, it's hanging out.
Yeah, Marnie doing its party trick even when it doesn't even get played again.
We do see Eder is going to show all of the tricks now. The Crobat VMAX going to the discard file. And Quick Ball is going to help thin out a little more. Completely useless Lugia to the hand. Maybe there's some more discarding as we do see the secret rare Ultra Ball flexing on us. 2 of those nice full art Lugias to the discard pile. And this is exactly what you need to be doing at this point. Eder doing a very good job with sequencing and thinning out the deck to put himself in a situation to close out game number 1 here.
Yeah, no, very interesting that Tord finally grabbed Eder's discard pile, seeing, okay, you do play the Raikou, that is a Crobat VMAX. I've seen a Hyper Potion right there. Like, what is happening with this?
I've seen 2 Path to the Peaks. What are you doing? Leave me alone. This isn't cool. And sure enough, Pumpkaboo is going to go down 1 additional prize card for Eder, and you can see the 2 prize cards remaining likely in that Lugia VSTAR with 140 damage on it.
So I would love to have an exact count of Eder's energy left in the deck, because even though that Lugia is at 40 HP remaining, you have to assume that the Raikou will be going down this turn. That is the biggest threat and could take down that Lugia wherever it is, and that does mean that he'll be out of a lot of energies, and he'll probably be staring down a fresh Lugia V in the active spot. So how will Eder be able to finish off those 4 damage counters that he needs on the Lugia VSTAR? It's not going to be an easy path to do so.
Yeah, you usually think about the Radiant Charizard and just 1 Aurora energy. The Radiant Charizard's in the discard pile. The Aurora energies are gone, and that doesn't leave many Pokemon to close out the game here. It might just have to be maybe a potential double Turbo Energy and whatever remaining card. Maybe a V-Guard is in there, and you could maybe get the Archeops attacking and just have those 3 energy costs. Use a card like a Serena as a gust effect to close out on this Lugia VSTAR, but it might take every resource in the deck to get the job done.
Yeah, every energy, like any energy rather, can get the attack for Eder, but it's not just about the energies. He does need to find the Gusting effect. Now, the advantage that he does have right now is that Tord needs to deal with this Raikou, so he cannot afford to go boss to try and win into turns. It will take him 3 turns total to win, and that does mean Eder has 2 turns to find that attacker and find the boss or Serena to chase down this Lugia. Now, Tord also still has the Collapse Stadium as an option to potentially discard this Lugia from play at some point. So that is another way Tord could fulfill this comeback by getting rid of that Lugia that Eder was barely able to not KO this turn.
Yeah, it looks like Tord is going to start featuring some of the single prize Pokemon in the attacking game here. And then that kind of leads into an issue of, well, anything getting knocked out after this Archeops is knocked out means the game ends anyways. So we'll see if Tord chooses to hold on to these attackers Honestly, I think it just comes down to what Eder's able to find on the next turn, because this is starting to get a little bit awkward now.
Yeah, the resource management definitely plays a big role in this Lugia mirror matches, the powerful energy counts, the double turbo counts, and also the single prize attackers available. I'm sure Tord, now seeing that Lugia, will put a little bit more value on the Dunsparce that he immediately discarded on his first turn. And we are going to see the triple capture energy Archeops, which plays into what Tord mentioned in his interview yesterday, where the capture energies were being so useful, not only as a way to find the right Pokemon to attack, but also as extra energies to be able to attack. And there we have it. The collapsed stadium does come into play and will get rid of that Lugia V-Star that barely survived. So if there's a comeback in the making, that collapsed stadium is a key card to make it so.
Yeah, I didn't know what Pokemon was gone, but sure enough, it was that Lugia V-Star, and it's a great point. Having the additional capture energies just means that maybe you have some additional reach at the end game, being able to just have any energy type, any colorless energy typing, just to help find some of these attacks at the end. Maybe Radiant Charizard needs just one additional colorless cost, or you need to start using these Archeops to attack, and sure enough, it's coming in handy here, as Tord is going to make use of this Archeops to take a knockout here on the amazing rare Raikou.
Now, with two Lugia V down right now on Tord's side of the field, I guess the Collapse Stadium did provide that value, and I think it's important to note how Tord doesn't know exactly what Eder is playing, and therefore he might be playing something that can place 4 damage counters right there. But if Lugia can get powered up, then the game still comes down to having access to the boss's orders. And we do see the 2 double turbos available, which actually will not allow Eder to take down that Lugia. So removing that Lugia V-Star is now a big deal. So we see how the energies available really change the dynamics of the game, and the damage reduction from double turbo is making a big difference right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Tord must have just had the information looking through the discard pile that all of the powerful energies were no longer available. I'm sure we could have kept up with that too, I suppose. We did see that one Lugia V-Star fall early with 3 powerful energies, and it is going to be up to this Lugia likely to close out the game for Eder. It's got very few energy left, if any, to make any other attacks. And Tord is going to try to put on some pressure now. You have to think maybe that the Radiant Charizard could get involved if we could see a Choice Belt. I don't know if that was one of the prize cards taken. We did see it in there.
Yeah, I don't think it was. And we are going to see the backup Lugia now, so it's a War of Attrition now. It came from... Oh, he did take the Choice Belt. Interesting. Okay, so... but we do see the Aurora energy in the prize cards as well, so maybe there's no possibility to attack with Charizard this turn. Otherwise, I would have been able to take a knockout on the Lugia V-Star and put Eder on the back seat, because I think he only has 1 energy left.
Yep, anything you can do, I can do better. I have more resources than you. Tord is just going to attack in to this Lugia, and this means that there's an awkward spot now for Eder. He sees that, yeah, he could definitely attack into this Lugia, but if you don't find a Gust effect this turn, I think the game ends.
I mean, so Eder is holding a Hyper Potion in his hand, but he did draw one of his last remaining energies, the capture energy, so now he cannot heal, attach from turn, and then use Archeops to fetch that last energy to be able to attack. That Hyper Potion would have put him out of range of the Lugia attack, and it would have been on Tord to get the attack off. But I feel like if Tord had the Choice Belt in hand and didn't promote the Charizard, that means he's definitely not able to attack with it this turn.
It looks like the Speed Lightning energy was in hand. That was likely going to be the attachment, and that just draws the other energy. And that's not where you want to be. Retreat. Try to live another day. Archeop's going to buy some time here. And yeah, the energy attachment comes down onto the Lugia. It is a capture, so you can go ahead and look through the deck. Probably not anything you're looking for other than where is my Gust effect. And I was really hoping to see Tord just attack next turn.
Yeah, if Tord does have his own ghost effect, it could spell trouble for Eder. He must have the read that Eder is running low on energies, so if you take down that Lugia, there's no more attackers left for him. So a real back and forth. It seemed like Eder was in such a good position with the path to a big down, the 3 prizes ahead, but Tord managing to make this comeback.
Yeah, we were a choice belt away from the game ending a while ago. Eder not finding the right card, it looks like, as he slams that card into the hand.
Yeah.
So many opportunities to close out this game and just not finding them at the right time. Can't even find an option for drawing with the speed lightning energies, just an attach.
I've played against Eder plenty of times in Mexico, and I know that when he has the win, he just slams the card immediately. He's showing the 2 Serenas, 2 Tord. He knows there's no way for him to win this match. And some unfortunate prices for Eder with the 2 Powerful and the V-Guard. 1 Aurora, which we saw was very costly for Tord the previous game, but it is at the bottom, so he will be able to access that. And then the hiding energy in case he decides to use Evil Doll, which he chose not to in the previous game.
All right, looks like we are ready to get underway here in game number 2. Eder going to start things off with a deck search. And we did get a peek, that opener, it looked like the Raikou is going to be the starting Pokemon here. So I don't have to worry about revealing that information. It's I guess you can just show it right now.
And Tord somehow starting with Oranguru in back-to-back games, so that's very, very interesting. There's a very low chance of you starting the exact same Pokemon that you only play 1 copy of in the starting position, and it is liable to get taken down by Raikou. But we do see Tord lead with the Oranguru, so what is going on here? Is his hand that bad, or is he preparing for a research and saving a resource?
Yeah, last time we saw Oranguru, it was double Lugia and a Professor's Research and a nice big party. Instead, it's little Primate Wisdom, and it looks like we're a little sad this time around.
Yeah, Tord taking his time with his next move. I see the shadow of the headphones.
Yeah, maybe just a communications issue going on right now. We'll see if we can get that cleared up. Looks like Tord is ready to get things underway.
All right.
See that evolution incense, the Manaphy in hand. So this time around, do you expect to see Tord benching Dunsparce and Manaphy? Maybe just one, or does having the Raikou in the active spot change things?
Yeah, Tord not having that death row situation that I thought was going to happen for a second. It was going to be a very quick game 2. Now you'll look through his deck, figure out his prize cards, and we'll get a full game going here.
You're going to see the Archeops added to the hand here, and potentially looking to get that in the discard pile early. That is the main strategy of the deck. And Tord also needs to be a little wary of the time here. If this hand doesn't start looking better, I'm going to be a little concerned, and at least we do see the Ultra Ball to help out.
Now, I feel like based on the previous game, Tord would have preferred to discard the Manaphy rather than the Aurora, but now he knows Raikou is in the deck from the previous game, and of course because it's the active Pokemon, so Manaphy and Dunsparce's value just went up quite a bit from the previous game. I'm sure Tord will value those cards and will use them to help prepare against what Eder tries to throw at him.
Yeah, do you expect to see it change at all with the Raikou in the active spot? Does that make a difference? I think maybe you might be able to knock that out early, or do you still have to value it as Eder could just easily retreat?
Well, I feel like the 2 retreat cost of Raikou does mean that Eder will try to use it right now if he has the option to. It is a lightning type attacker, so you might want to save it for Lugia, but Eder also knows that Tord plays a Dunsparce. So if Tord does bench both the Dunsparce and the Manaphy this game, then Raikou's value diminishes quite a bit, and you're better off just using that resource to start off the game and take that first prize card and start the prize initiative in your favor.
Well, we don't know how much reach Tord has just yet. Apparently it's a lot. It's going to be the Professor's Research getting 7 cards now, and the Manaphy is down. We'll see if maybe the Dunsparce is found, but at least the bench will be protected. Tord has not used his VSTAR. It would be impossible, so glad we're flipping that back.
Yeah, there's no Forest Seal Stone here or anything. You would never choose to use that over Summoning Star. So we are going to see a research toward looking for Dunsparce ideally to protect the Lugia, but I guess more importantly, a second Lugia in fact.
Looks like we are going to see the Yveltal hitting the discard pile there, so not going to be featuring Amazing Destruction this time, as it wasn't necessary in game number 1 for closeout. Could also just be a nod to the fact that the rest of the hand could still be pretty strong.
Yeah, Amazing Destruction is a very energy-intensive attack. It does imply a lot of commitment of resources to it, so you really have to time it perfectly. And of course, it's best used when it's against a VMAX Pokemon worth 3 prizes, but this isn't the case, so perhaps there's no value in that Yveltal for Tord, and Eder not even playing it, so maybe in the mirror match it's just not relevant at all.
Yeah, we've seen the reach against a Lugia V-Star that has the V-Guard energy potentially being an issue. But of course, if you look through your deck and you see those powerful energies, maybe you don't worry as much knowing that you could still potentially get a knockout even through V-Guard.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Yveltal's value is in, like, you commit to one hit KO with the powerfuls and then to the other with the Yveltal and then the last one with Charizard. But of course, Lugia can feature a lot of single prize attackers, making that investment not as great, right? You don't want to be committing 5 energies to take 1 prize card. That would not be ideal with such a fragile Pokemon. So now we're going to see Eder trying to get his setup, get his Summoning Star with that Path to the Peak to try and deny towards resources.
7 cards to the hand for Eder. Certainly would like to see a Summoning Star this turn. And we do see the Lugia V-Star. And there we go. Flip of the V-Star marker for this game. Double Archeops to the bench, and that should lead to a bunch of special energy cards being available. Of course, we know that the Raikou isn't going to be too impactful in a situation like this now. With the Manaphy down, the spreading damage isn't going to occur, but maybe just focused on the retreat later on, or just having that single prize exchange right now on the Oranguru.
Yeah, that Raikou, like, it would be super valuable if Eder had not started with it in the active spot, because it's in the active and it's so difficult to just get out of there. Then you might as well use it now, and then your plan will be to take down the Lugias with their powerful energies. And we do see the Path to the Peak, so that's as good a turn as Eder will be able to have. Now it's on Tord to respond to this with something better than Read the Wind like last time.
I think there's a few other attacks I'd rather use. We'll see if Tord's able to find any of those. This, once again, does come down to countering that path as soon as possible. We know there are a few ways to do just that. The Lost Vacuum, a counter stadium, or the Pumpkaboo. Capture Energy could at least say hi to Pumpkaboo, but it's not going to get the ability off.
Yeah, that's definitely not going to be in Tord's plan to get this Path to the Peak countered. He's just checking his deck, because if he did end up searching for a Pokemon and then Pumpkaboo ended up being his answer to the path, he would only have space for 1 Archeops, and that would mean it would get a little clunky here for him towards the end of the game to follow up on the pressure. So we'll have to see if he's able to find either the Lost Vacuum or the Collapsed Stadium off of this Marnie. So It all comes down to this.
Well, who needs to be Path Marnied when you can Path Marnie yourself? 5 cards at least. And can Tord find the answer? Summoning Star would be so crucial this turn.
Now, Tord didn't immediately play the card, which is something that, like, if you're excited and you find the card, then that's something that a lot of players will do, including myself. So
usually you have 1 option, or no options, or 3 options if you're taking your time.
Exactly.
So, this looks like none.
Yeah, so it seems like Tord will be delayed once again, that Path to the Peak. That didn't stop him from winning game 1. But there is a Lugia now staring at his face, and there we go, the scoop with that Raikou in the active, the Lugia about to go down, and probably Tord's hand as a follow-up was not good.
Double Lugia V-Star to start things off in the prize cards. What is happening?
So if Tord wanted to get that early Summoning Star, and he needs to bypass a Path to the Peak to do it, now he also needs to find his only copy of Lugia V-Star. He does play 3, so he will be able to have access to one, and that's more than enough to Summoning Star, but having that follow-up might be a little difficult for Tord, so we'll have to see. Maybe this is the game where he will prioritize that Evil Doll.
We'll see if Turbo Tord is activated here. We did see the prize cards upside down. That usually means that we don't have time for that stuff. We're just going to throw cards left and right and get the job done. Lugia in the active spot, not worried about being knocked out this time around. Doesn't need to start the Orangaroo. And wow, I'll let that speak for itself.
Yeah, Tord getting the beautiful Ultra Ball into double Archeops, into the single copy of Lugia VSTAR, as we mentioned. Tord, given how low we are in time, that's when a lot of players do not prioritize price checking, of course, because they really want to close out this game. So Tord might not even know yet that he did price 2 Lugia VSTARs, unless he made a really quick mental note of that with his 2 deck searches. I feel like he's really setting up, telling Eder, well, if you don't disrupt me with Marnie, I'm already set up.
Why check my prizes when I could draw my prizes?
Exactly. Now we are going to see Eder, on the other hand, going for that quick wall on the Archeops, trying to get his setup. Will eyeing that Marnie play, as we mentioned, and that's part of the thing. Of course, Tord wanted to get those Archeopses in the discard pile, but he also gave the information to Eder that he is already holding that Lugia V-Star, making the Marnie even more enticing, because that means the Lugia V-Star will now be at the bottom of the deck, and even though Eder doesn't know it, it's incredibly impactful because the other 2 Lugia V-Stars are not available for Tord.
Yeah, that is, it'd be quite the read to know that the prizes are there, but even then, just knowing that 1 is in the hand is too much, and it looks like that is going to be valued there. We did see the Marnie floating to the top of the search there. Luminian likely going to be searching that out with the Luminous Sign, and Marnie likely to be the play here. We'll see if Eder potentially has an energy to follow up before playing down this supporter.
Eder did second guess his decision for a second there, thinking, okay, if Tord is still able to set up here, then maybe it's better to just get more resources in my hand with research. But we are going to see the Marnie finally. So now the question is, will Marnie do its party trick?
Well, I'm terrified to find out, as there's only 9 minutes left in this game, and we need to start seeing some prize cards soon. At least we will see an energy attachment. Looks like there are a few of them in the hand, with the powerful being played and the double turbo being accessible. And Tord found Evolution Incense Energy Belt Research. Okay.
That's as good as you'll want to get to start off this game 3 when you're pressured for time. Is able to re-find that Lugia V-Star that he searched for initially. And I mean, I think your opponent didn't use Read the Wind, and they had energy, so you know they have something good going for them. But there are 3 rule box Pokemon in play right now for Tord to potentially take down and win over the course of 3 turns. And that 8 minutes is definitely plenty of time to be able to pull that off. It comes down to can Tord find Serena or Boss in time.
Down comes the Summoning Star, both Archeops added to the bench, and it looks like Tord only has 1 real decision left to make in this hand. Has a Quick Ball and a Powerful Energy, or the Choice Belt, so could add one of those versatile 1-price Pokemon to the bench and maybe add a Choice Belt to it, or could value the Powerful Energy. Which one do you think you go with here?
I think if you can bench another Lugia, you want to be conservative, because Eder can definitely respond with his own Lugia and has to commit the Powerfuls to take that KO. So at this stage, another Lugia, that's the one you want to save the Powerful Energies for. So,
all right, we'll see what Tord is eyeing up. Playing a little slower here, obviously. The setup is as good as it gets, and we see plenty of V Pokemon that could be targeted, and that is a lot of capturing.
That is all the consistency capture energies that Tord is playing. That is very interesting to see. Of course, capture energy, when you attach it from hand, you are able to search for any basic Pokemon that you want and place it on the bench. But as long as it's paying for an attack cost for Lugia here, that is good enough. Usually you'll want to use double turbo to be a little more energy efficient with your Lugia, but Tord cannot afford to reduce the damage with that double turbo, as he wouldn't be able to take this knockout. And we do see the other Lugia V preparing for that powerful energy turn.
Do you think that Tord's deck search right there had anything to do with his Lugia, considering that, well, there are 2 Lugias in my prize cards. I could potentially draw them, but that's also a little bit of a drawback, because if I don't see them and this Lugia is knocked out, who am I attacking with next turn?
Yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. That time that he took to look through his deck over and over, he must be like, no, I certainly missed a Lugia somewhere, right?
Yeah.
But no, that is not the case. 2 Lugia V-Stars are prized, which I do think he'll be able to get one of the prizes right now, so that will be good enough for him. And this is the game where Yveltal, as we mentioned, might come into play as another option to take the last 2 prize cards for Tord.
Well, could be a bit of a calculated risk here for Tord in the final 6 minutes, and that is going to pay off perfectly. The Aurora energy added along with that crucial second Lugia V-Star could spell disaster here for Eder in this last game. Of course, we haven't had much to talk about for Eder so far, just trying to slow down Tord, and it just didn't work out. Marnie did not have the party trick going, and Eder's going to try to get things going here with this Lugia. And this is where having those paths and having this disruption just doesn't feel nearly as great. Your opponent's already done everything they wanted to do.
Yeah, the path to peak lets you build upon an advantage that you would already have if you won the coin flip, right? So not really working out for him. He wasn't able to find the path on his own turn 1, so Tord is now fully set up and has the perfect answer to Eder's initial Lugia. And it's on Eder to somehow stop Tord from overwhelming him with his attackers.
We do see Eder really focused on those powerful energies, of course, wanting to take the knockout here on this Lugia V-Star, and Tord was prepared for that with the Choice Belt on the Lugia, along with the Radiant Charizard. Maybe could find a Choice Belt of its own to start working on a knockout, but always nice to have some options, and Tord has done all of this so far with no powerful energies in play.
Yeah, those powerful energies still being available for that benched Lugia does mean that Tord will have the perfect response, but that Lugia that he just got off the prize cards is now once again at the bottom of the deck, and Tord has now utilized a few Ultra Balls, a few Evolution Instances, so can Tord get the Lugia V-Star here? And without the immediate promotion and the fact that time is of essence, he might not actually have access to that Lugia V-Star, although we do see the promotion.
It is worth noting, I suppose, the path to the peak does stop the Excited Heart ability for the Radiant Charizard, so if the other Choice Belt were to be found, that really doesn't look like an appetizing choice. That's a lot of energies that you'd have to commit. So the Lugia is going to be the choice here, and Tord needs a little bit of help. Maybe already has an answer, as we do see some powerful energies sliding to the front.
Yeah, but we do see the Lugia V-Star right at the bottom, so we haven't been able to see or tell what is in Tord's hand off of that Marnie. So it all comes down to that. Does he have a supporter? Does he have a way to find the Lugia V-Star? What is he going for? The double turbo there, plus the 2 powerfuls, that will be enough? No, that's 10 damage short, I believe, on the knockout here.
We see the Aurora energy going to the Radiant Zard. Looks like, yeah, this is I'm very curious what is left in the hand at this spot.
Yeah, both Archeops have been utilized, and Lugia simply attacks with its regular attack. Wow, that is intense. So the Marnie really pulling through for Eder right here.
Yep, that is one way to do things. The arrow dive, discarding the stadium, dealing 130, of course, amplified by at least one of those powerful energies, and the Choice Belt going to deal 150 damage. And I guess that's not exactly where you see yourself in the mid stages of Game 3 in a really exhausting mirror, but you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, that was a very surprising move. Path to Peak did get removed by Lugia's attack, but another one comes into play, making sure that the Charizard is not an easy target, and the Lugia goes down, and Eder is only 2 attacks away from closing out this game now.
I think Tord foresaw this coming with the choice of the powerful energies being attached to the Lugia, as now maybe an attack lining up with the Archeops could knock out the Lugia here, going for potential speed wing.
Yeah, we will see, as the V-Guard energy does not protect the damage from the Arceus. It did protect some damage from the Lugia, but this will be enough to take down the Lugia, putting Tord also at 2 price cards. And that Luminion is now the biggest liability for Eder, which he does promote.
Yep, this would be an ideal situation to maybe have a gusting effect in this spot, so you could not only get this Luminion off of the board, but take a knockout in the process. So Radiant Charizard looking like a great option to gust if the cards were available.
Yeah, if Eder does have a gusting effect to take down that Charizard through weakness, then that does mean that Eder will be able to close out the game. But no, he simply attacks the Arceus for 120 damage and should be going back to the deck.
Yeah, he actually did have a gusting effect, but it's the Serena, and there's no Vs in play, of course, so just unfortunate there. Should just be an Aqua return. See the Luminion come down. We'll see if what the debate all is about. There is only 20 seconds left on the clock, so this actually is pretty important time as far as determining +3 turns coming up soon.
Yeah,
Tord does get the draw off, so it looks like Tord, unless he concludes his turn in the next 7 seconds, will be turn 0.
Indeed, that was a very intense decision right there. The Arceus does survive, and are there enough powerful energies to take down the Arceus right here? Time is indeed now over. Charizard not easy to attack with because of the Path to Peak being in play. It does require those 5 energies, but yeah, what's Tord's follow-up here?
Yeah, let's see if we can count along with Eder. See just 2 powerfuls, maybe 3 on that last one. So that would be number 4 already on the Archeops. Going to be short of a knockout on the opponent's Archeops now.
Yeah, going to be 10 damage short. So if Tord doesn't get a knockout in this turn, being turn 0, then that means he will not be able to win unless Eder decided to bench a V Pokemon, and Eder will have 2 full turns to take a knockout. The question is, will he be able to? Does he have enough powerful left in case Tord retreats to a brand new Arceus? I don't believe he does, so we'll have to commit the Charizard, and then Tord could respond with his own Charizard, and then that means does Eder now have access to any attacker? This is going to be a very convoluted close to the game where it honestly could go towards either player.
Yeah, this is going to be a really tricky spot. I'm even wondering, does Stoutland ever sneak into play at this point and try to steal an extra prize card? How do you work this out?
I mean, I believe the Stoutland can only take the extra prize card if it knocks out a basic Pokemon, so the Arceus would not count towards that.
Yeah, we'd be targeting the Radiant Charizard at this point.
Yeah, the Charizard with the 2 prize cards would be an option, but that would require a little bit of initial damage from the Arceus with the Stoutland close. So we are going to see a very interesting finish. The boss's Sorter's prize for Tord could factor into this end game. The double turbo for Eder could also be a factor, making the energy requirements be a little too harsh for him to fulfill on his attackers. So a very interesting +3 turn so far.
Tord, welcome to take his time in this spot, as this is a very important turn. A prize card seems almost necessary at this point to stay in the game to potentially get the 3 match points.
I would love to be able to take a look at Tord's hand so that I could see what options he has available to him. There's no more powerful available.
Lost Vacuum potentially as an option here. Could remove the Path to the Peak.
That would open up the Charizard attack, but then that gets responded by Charizard itself. So, yeah, this is going to be quite an interesting close to the match. I mean, I think it comes down to, can Tord find another attacker after the Charizard to close out this game? And can that attacker do enough damage, really?
Well, Tord is going to leave that option, as the Radiant Charizard will be the promotion. Combustion Blast is online by way of the Excited Heart, as the path to the peak has been removed, which leads to a knockout. But where does the next knockout come from?
I do believe Eder's Excited Heart was what caused the Luminion play last turn, which didn't allow him to take a knockout on the Arceus. I feel like we're so used to support Pokemon have low HP that Arceus' 150 HP is usually underestimated. We are going to see Eder's turn. He is eyeing up this KO, and the question, as usual, what can Tord respond to this? We are seeing the knockout, so it's on Tord to close out this match. Can he do it?
Well, if one of those powerful energies from the discard pile could find its way onto that Archeops, we'd be in a much different spot. Instead, it's going to take a lot of brain power to get here. Is there enough energy? I think we see the amazing rare Evital, but is there even the resources to close that out?
I believe Tord only plays 4 Aurora and 1 Hiding, and I believe we saw the Hiding used to retreat last turn, and an Aurora on the Charizard, and an Aurora on the, not Aerodactyl, Arceus. Therefore, he does not have that third crucial colored energy to cover for the attack cost. I think it comes down to, can Tord survive a turn? And of course, Eder's Charizard cannot attack this upcoming turn. Lugia does have a lot of hit points for Eder to deal with, so it could come down to a draw. Like, I wish we could see clearly, like, both players' hands to really flesh out exactly what options they have. But now it really comes down to, can I survive from Tord?
Yeah, I think I only see that double turbo. I don't even know if there was another energy in the deck. So, energies.
Well, there is one Aurora, yeah. But, I mean, that's not enough to even attack. So, I mean, with the double turbo, Lugia can definitely not KO the Charizard anyways. Whether Tord got the Ghost effect or the Lugia VSTAR from the prize cards the previous turn, neither is useful in this matchup because he does not have enough damage power to take down the benched Arceus. That 150 HP, that 10 damage might be the reason why Tord is not able to close this one out, and it will come down to Eder putting up whatever has the lowest HP to take a knockout in the active spot for him.
Well, Tord going to play around everything. Lugia down. Lugia even on the bench in case a wild escape rope comes out from nowhere. And just going to draw a couple cards, pass the turnover, and hope to stick around. Radiant Charizard not currently able to attack here. So we have to find its way to the bench, but switching effects also few and far between.
Yeah, we did see Read the Wind from Tord, and I mean, Eder is holding a Quick Ball, and we know the Luminion is in the deck, right? So if he had access to a boss and enough energies to power up the Arceus and take down the benched Arceus, he certainly would be slamming down the cards now. I don't think he has enough firepower to take down this Lugia right here. There aren't enough colored energy to utilize Yveltal. Charizard just attacked. There aren't enough colored energy to use Raikou, so I believe he's out of options at this point. I'm honestly not sure. I don't know exactly what he has left and what resources he has used. There's the Luminion.
Yep, Eder's gonna try his best. The Raikou even potentially featured here. Maybe just thinking about thinning at this point. There could be maybe one additional way to search out this Luminion. And going to grab the energies, we do see multiple Aurora.
2 Auroras, right?
Is there another special energy that could provide that last colored energy effect in hand?
Even if there was, how do you get the Charizard from the active? Oh, there it is.
There's Aurora. We need to see the discard. Crobat being discarded. There's the Choice Belt.
How does Eder retreat here, though? He's already attached energy for turn. He's already used Arceus' ability. How does he get that Charizard out of the active spot? Does he have anything in his list? I don't see anything. I generally don't. He doesn't play Switch. He doesn't play Herballoon. I don't see how he can do this. That 3 retreat cost on the Charizard will end up being his, not demise, but rather both players will feel like they could have run with the game and they weren't able to do so. And there we have it. Yeah.
Yep.
There we have it. Both players showing their hands.
So close for
We
both
see
of
them.
these players, but just not able to get the job done. So unfortunate, but also just a really great showing of these decks and how you can bring a completely versatile style of Lugia. We've seen the consistency version, and of course, Eder's very interesting.